Alright, this is a review of my Orbea Ordu Triathlon bike. Full disclaimer, I am an ambassador for Orbea. However, I reached out to them. They did not reach out to me. And the reason I reached out to them was because I have always loved the look of the Orbea Ordu. I think it looks sleek, it's got really clean lines, it's stylish. There is nothing on this bike that is weird and quirky, that they've kind of tried to change the norm or anything. They've just gone with a real basic, beautiful looking bike, in my opinion. I have a partnership with them. The opinions in this video are still all my own, and Orbea have not directed me to say anything specific in this video, or even make this video for that matter. I have decided to make this myself. I have owned this bike now for, when did I get it? 8 months. I've owned this bike for about 8 months now. I have done one Ironman on it and many training rides, and I would have potentially been doing more races on it if it wasn't for some health conditions, which we're not going to go into. So the really awesome thing about Orbea is you can customize the bike. You can get custom color for no extra price. The only exception is you have to wait a bit longer. So you can go on their website and you can choose any color combination that you want for no extra cost. And the bike is then ready-made to order. On some models of the bike, you can also upgrade things like the wheels, the aero bars, handlebars on their road models. The road models are really good because you can choose all the different lengths. So you can choose what width handlebars you want, what size stem you want, what size cranks you want. On the TT bikes, you can choose the crank length depending on the gearing that you get. This particular model is the Ordu M30i, and this is essentially their base model. It is by no means a base model bike. You have Dura Ace brakes, Shimano 105 Di2. The M20i comes with Ultegra Di2, and then their M10i comes with Dura Ace Di2. Depending on which model you buy, you also get different accessories such as wheels. The M30i comes with, I believe, the Oquo, if I've said that right, 45 mil wheels, which are great set of wheels. So the other things that come standard with this bike, which I think is pretty neat, is you get this toolkit down here, which fits quite a lot. You can fit a mini pump, you can fit some tubes. When I say tubes, like TPU, the small tubes, you can fit some Allen keys and things in there if you pack it right. You also get this aero bottle, which integrates into the frame. And the two of these combined make the bike more aerodynamic. Now you can probably see though that this bike is no longer stock. I have made some upgrades, and some of those upgrades I made before I purchased the bike. So the stock model comes with ski bar extensions. I upgraded the extensions to Vision Metron TFE Pro extensions. One, because I liked them and I think they look a lot better and more comfortable, and two, it makes the bike technically UCI legal. So this bike as a standalone bike is, the frame and everything is UCI legal, but you just have to check what aero bar extensions you're putting on it, because they change whether it meets UCI legal requirements or not. But everything else with the bike is UCI legal. I believe you do have to take off the toolkit down here. Upgraded the wheels to the Oquo 57 limited edition team wheels, which are obviously a deeper rim profile, better carbon spec. They have zip hubs. Really nice wheels. However, since buying this bike, I have been lucky enough to obtain a wheel sponsor as well. So what you're seeing on the bike right now is Paragon's Amola Honda TRD 6065s with the wave profile, DT Swiss 240 hubs. Very nice wheels. These are pretty much what I train on. When I raced Kona on this bike, I had the Paragon tri-spoke wheel set. Kona, you can't use a disc wheel, so we went with the tri-spoke wheel set. Definitely got a lot of heads turning in my direction. Also comes standard with the Physique saddle. I didn't even try the Physique saddle, to be fair. I'm sure it's a great saddle, but I already had a bi-saddle. This is the Hurricane, so it's the shorter nose saddle. I upgraded to that saddle on my old triathlon bike. And I love the adjustability of it, so I just put it straight onto this bike without even trying the physique saddle. The other thing that does not come stock with this bike is the rotor crankset. So this come with a 105 crankset with 165mm cranks. That was the shortest cranks I could get, which is going to suit most people fine. But I have had some issues with artery problems in the past, so I switched to 155mm cranks, and for me they've been a game changer. I ordered direct from Rotor one of their Aldo aluminium 155mm cranksets. I've also got a Rotor in-spider power meter on here, and then Rotor chain rings to match, and personally for me they just suit me really well. I am running a 52-36 chain ring up front, which is pretty standard, and then a 11-34 cassette at the rear. The great thing about the Orbea, and I think a lot of bike fitters really like this too about the Orbea, is it is super adjustable. So at the back of the bike you've got obviously your seat post, standard up and down, but you also have 1, 2, 3 spots where you can mount your saddle. So that gives you greater adjustability with the saddle, how far forward or how far back you want it or need it. The other thing is up the front here, this mono riser is super easy to adjust. There is a screw in the front. You loosen that, you can then adjust it up and down to suit how high you want the bar ends. Then depending on the cockpit setup you go with, for the aero bars, you can obviously adjust them forward, back, out. These Vision Metron TFE are very adjustable. I have played around with them a lot to get a nice comfortable position. You can also adjust the tilt of the bars because there are little wedges that you can stick under and adjust the tilt of your bars as well. So the adjustability is amazing. And then you've got the base bar, which you can flip around if you want it a little bit of lower, so a bit more reach when you're on the bars, or if you want it a bit higher. So I've flipped my bars because I'm a bit short, and this bike particularly size-wise is an extra small. I'm 165, 166 centimeters. I have quite long legs though, but this bike I believe goes up to around 170 centimeters tall, and then you'll go up in size, but the size chart is on the Orbea website. Okay, I lost all the audio on this clip and I didn't realize until I was editing this video. So as I was saying earlier, the great thing with Orbea is their custom make your own colors, and this bike is stock color. I was too impatient to wait for a custom color because it was going to take longer, so I got one of the stock colors, which is fine because I do really love the color. The color of this bike is Halo Silver, Tanzanite and Orange Cloud, and the Tanzanite really sparkles in the sun. It's kind of like a purpley blue color with like glitter flecks throughout it. So one of the downsides with this bike, or I don't necessarily see it a downside because I quite like the way it looks, is the lack of integrated storage, and that's probably something that people doing triathlon may have an issue with. However, there are plenty of alternative options for integrated storage that you can use for this bike. So the integrated storage that this bike comes with as stock is the toolkit, which mounts to the frame, which you can unscrew and take off if needed, but that stops you from having to put like a saddlebag or something behind the seat or try and carry stuff in your jersey pockets. But when it comes to like bento boxes or integrated hydration, it doesn't really have any of that, so you have to kind of get creative. There are brands that are making custom like 3D printed bento boxes specifically for the Orbea, and they go over the mono riser and then attach to the frame if you don't mind sticking something to your frame, or you can get the strap-on version where it's got the Velcro straps which go around the frame, which I've seen plenty of pros use. I have 2 rear bottle holders behind the seat, which is pretty standard, and then I also have a between the arms front end hydration system, which is from Slipstream 3D, which you can put 2 bottles in, and then I've got my Garmin mounted and I can have a light mounted underneath as well. So there are plenty of options out there for this bike. Personally for me, I don't feel like I need a bento box because I carry all my gels and chews and things either down my top or in my jersey pockets, and I rely on that and hydration mostly to fuel myself through an Ironman. So this bike is definitely usable if you have specific fueling strategies, but bear in mind you can get bento boxes for this bike specifically. And I think personally the reason that Orbea have done this is to keep the bike nice and clean looking and to keep the weight down, and obviously for UCI legal specs. Another point that I'd like to make about this bike is, because the front end is so aerodynamic and the way they've designed it, is these plastic bits can actually chip your paint. When I picked it up from the Orbea rep, he did warn me about this, which you're not going to do this damage when you're steering the bike. This was caused when I put it in a car and the handlebars locked fully to one side, and there must have been a bit of grit or something under here which has chipped this paint. There is a little plastic protector here which you can see has come off, and then the same thing has happened on the other side right here. So just be mindful of that. But the good thing with Orbea, because of their custom paint, is you can actually order any of the colors to touch up any little chips and things. And then obviously one last thing we'll talk about in terms of this bike is ride feel. And I think it rides great. I think it feels super fast. Handling is really nice on it, really smooth around corners. Feels super fast in the aero bars. It definitely feels a lot faster than my old triathlon bike. That could just all be psychological. I know some people saw I had some issues with things coming loose, and I don't have that problem anymore. I think when the bike was built up, things possibly weren't torqued up properly, and then after a few rides, things come loose. I think that's just teething issues with any bike in general. I took it to the bike shop. Everything's gone over and tightened, and I haven't had an issue since. If you or someone you know is interested in your own Orbea Ordu or any of the other Orbea models, send me a message or comment below. If you're in Australia, I'll be able to get you in touch with the right distributor in Australia to source your own Orbea, because I know there are a few far in between in stores. Not a lot of places stock Orbeas, especially the Ordu, the triathlon bike. Personally, I don't think you'll be disappointed with this bike. I think it is very much a head turner. They are a little bit more scarce in terms of who's riding them at races. So if you want to stand out, be a little bit more individual, and most importantly, if you want a custom bike color without having to pay extra, then check out Orbea. I think that pretty much covers it. If you've got any questions, drop them below. Thanks for tuning in. See you in the next video.